Yo, 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 yo. What's going on? What's happening, everybody? Happy Monday. Good afternoon and happy Monday, or at least it's afternoon as I record this. Not sure when everybody will watch this, but good afternoon. Hope everybody doing well here at the start of a new week. So I hope your day is going, well and being productive and conducive and all that nice stuff. We're gonna check in here quick, talk about our Atlanta Falcons. As you see on the title, head coach Raheem Morris has formally announced, not that it's a big surprise to any of us, but he has formally announced that Michael Penix Jr. and Kirk Cousins will not be playing in the final preseason game, and we will discuss that a little more in detail here in just a moment. Also, give y'all, my thoughts on Titans versus Falcons. It seemed like that's been a storyline in both fan bases for it seemed like weeks now. But they actually finally played a game Friday night, preseason game Friday night. And the Titans did secure the victory. They won and beat us 23 to 20, so we'll talk about that a little bit as well. In fact, let's go ahead and start there. Let's start with the game. I'll start off and I'll say I don't think quarterback the first game, our quarterback Easton Stick, he looked phenomenal. He looked very crisp, looked very comfortable and confident. Did a good job of moving the offense, moving the chains. Game 2 against Tennessee, unfortunately I can't say he looked as good. Game 2, he made some bad throws. He had one official interception. Really should have had 2 interceptions. He was putting the ball in some very, very bad spots, make some bad decisions, forcing the ball when the ball didn't need to be forced. It's like one of them times, like either you throw the ball away or you run out of bounds, but just don't put the ball into harm's way like he did quite often. Maybe me saying quite often is a stretch, but more than I wanted to see. And maybe that's a case of him being over aggressive, being too assertive, in camp, trying to secure himself a roster spot, which of course means securing himself a nice paycheck. So maybe that had a lot to do with it. But he wasn't as good this past Friday as he was game 1, so that's something that really stuck out to me. He was 19 for 32 passing, 173 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Really should have been 2 interceptions if memory serves me correctly. He threw a second interception and it got called back due to penalties or due to a penalty. So, got kind of lucky from that facet or from that angle. But I'm sure we'll see a lot of Easton Stick game 3, the final preseason game. Of course, Kirk and Michael Penix won't be playing. So he'll have an opportunity and a chance to redeem himself from a very tough outing against the Tennessee Titans. He wasn't crisp. He did not look as strong as he did the first preseason game. So we'll see what happens the final preseason game. I think we ran the ball a lot better this past Friday. I think we put more of a conscientious effort to run the ball as compared to week 1. Or it might have just been Nathan Carter had that one long touchdown run, which I think was about 43 yards. And he showed a lot of his speed and quickness, once he got through that second level of the defense and took it straight to the house. He finished the game 9 carries on 9 carries for 63 yards, 1 touchdown. That's an average of 7 yards per carry. So he had him a very, very fine game, just like Easton Stick, he's trying to fight and get himself a roster spot. And it's hard to get a roster spot in the running back room for the Falcons, man, because we got one of the best running back rooms in the NFL. You already know, of course, Bijan locked in, Tyler Algier locked in. So, getting that third spot, is not as easy as maybe some other position groups that are fighting for a spot. Chris Blair came out, got himself a touchdown. He had 3 receptions for 7-8 yards. Strong outing for him. I think he probably has secured him a roster spot, so I think we will see him on the team as well. But that was, week 2, preseason. As we all know, our starters didn't play, so it's not a whole lot to talk about in that regard. I did want to talk about James Pierce Jr. I think he played phenomenal once again. Man, he does a great job getting pressure on the opposing team's quarterback. His first step off the line of scrimmage, his get off, his acceleration coming across the corner, man, you see it. You see it there for that kid, man. This guy gets off the ball so fast, and it's so impressive sitting there, watching, and then his pass rush moves from his power moves to his speed rushes, his hand movement, his technique. You see all of that, man. You see this rookie starting to put together stuff as a rookie, and you can kind of see what he's going to ultimately become in Atlanta. I'm very confident. I try not to jump out the window too much, but I see it with this guy. I see the talent. I see everything there with him. I see the talent. I see the technique. I see the strength. I see the power. I see the football IQ with this guy. This guy is going to be one of the NFL's next star pass rushers. I think we finally got our guy with James Pierce Jr. Everything on tape about Pierce screams like this is going to be a 10+ sack per year pass rusher that we have in Atlanta. I'm not saying he's going to get that as a rookie. I would love for him to do it, but I do think his rookie season, he's going to get a minimum of 7 sacks. He's going to create a lot of pressures. And he's going to give opposing offensive coordinators and those tackles that he's going to be matched up with, he's going to get them headaches for a long time coming. James Pierce Jr., he really, really has it, and you can see it on tape. So I'm very, very excited about him. His motor is constantly running. Granted, I've only seen 2 preseason games, but you can see it. One thing about talent, man, talent jumps out. Talent just jumps out, man. Talent gonna jump out the first quarter, the second quarter, the first game, the second game. Talent jumps out. His talent just jumps out. It's very, very noticeable when you watch him play. And he played just another great game. You go back and you watch the film, you watch the tape on James Pierce Jr., and it's like, damn, this kid is really putting it together very, very fast. So I'm very, very excited to see the progression of his career for the Atlanta Falcons. I think we have drafted a perennial Pro Bowler, and I think he's going to rack up some All-Pro appearances also. And again, I know I'm jumping out the window, but I can see the talent, man. I can see the talent. I don't have to wait 4, 5, 6 years to know if my guy's talented. I know some people have to sit there. Hey, man, you got to be patient. Well, damn, dog, it's year 5. How patient do I need to be for this guy? I don't need that. I can see talent, and I see the talent with this kid. He has the talent. I think more of an issue for him is just stay focused. Just stay focused and continue to get better. Don't let any of those distractions get to you, especially in a city like Atlanta. Just stay focused. In fact, can we move James Pierce Jr. out the perimeter? We need to probably move him down to get him down to Stockbridge and McDonough. Move him down to Henry County. I don't need none of that flim flam and those distractions of Atlanta, Georgia. I just need the kid focused. Let's move him further down 75. Yeah, let's get him. In fact, let's bring him down to Locust Grove. Let's get him more to the country part of Georgia. Let's get him down to Locust Grove, somewhere out there behind a Tanker Outlet or something. No, let's just get him totally out of the city of Atlanta. He don't need to live in the city. Just get him totally out of the city. You know, I don't need them. I don't need those distractions up there, man. You know, I don't need none of that stuff. You know, that comes with Atlanta, Georgia, especially when you got a bunch of money. But no, all BS aside, man. I really like it with this kid, you know. And Brandon Dorless also, I spoke about him last week. I think he did another good job as well. You know, I'm fascinated by, you know, the way he uses his hands to get off blockers and to get himself where he wants to be when he's engaged with blockers. You know, I become fascinated with just watching his hand technique. You know, he does a great job. So real happy to see, you know, our youth movement, mature and just go through that maturation process. You know, you got Big Rook. You know, I think he was pretty solid also. So we got a lot of guys. You know, we've seen Braylon Trice out there as well. But the standouts of the bunch was, again, James Pierce Jr. So really, really looking forward to see how his career goes in Atlanta. Before we go any further, man, let's jump in the chat real quick. We got Jonathan Rozier in the building. What's going on with you? So I hit the like button, but chose to kick Ross for the. Thank you, brother. I do appreciate that, man. Appreciate the love. Yeah, man. That's what I do. I just write that second option there just to kind of give, like you say, somebody some giggles and laughs, you know, on that part. But as always, man, I appreciate you coming in. Coach in the middle. What's going on with your coach, man? Appreciate you coming in as usual, my brother. Hope you had a good weekend. So, bro, kick rocks just because I said we go. That's what I like to do. But happy Monday to all who can hear, and much blessing to you as well, bro. Appreciate you coming in once again. Philip in the building. What's up, Philip? What's good? Tied, I don't mind sitting QB 1 and 2. There's been too many injuries early, and if one goes down, and we will be picking 8th. I want to be picking 28th or later. I can dig that, man. It's a great comment, Philip. And I guess we'll start to transition to that into that conversation as well. Once we read a few more of the comments here. T-Dub in his house. What's happening, T-Dub? So what's up, Toddy? I'm not like a Penix Jr. not taking snaps in preseason. Just about every other starter played. Make it make sense. So you have a different view than Philip. Philip said he good with him not playing. And T-Dub said, nah, man, I need to see the quarterback get out there and get his hands a little bit there. Doing stuff for CJ says, I caught it live. Hey, man, welcome in, my friend. Appreciate you coming in, man. Thanks very much. And I'm glad you did catch the live. Doing stuff for CJ Tight getting paid because these commercials be going hard. Man, trust me, bro. Like any money I get is just enough to buy me a cup of coffee, bro. You know what I'm saying? YouTube take a good, large, significant percentage of that, man. So, you know, anything I get is just enough to get me some coffee every day. That's about it, bro. I wish I was getting paid, bro. Like paid, but you know, I did what you're saying, though. I subscribe to actually the YouTube Premium. I pay them I think they charge about $11, $12 a month, man, and that way you can just watch commercial free. So I don't know the last time I seen a commercial on YouTube, bro. To me, it's worth it. I guess it would vary per person because not every. I'm a heavy YouTube user, and I know most people don't use YouTube as much as I use it. YouTube for me is my TV. You know, it's my encyclopedia. You know, it's my teacher. You know, so I'm a very heavy YouTube user, so it's best for me not to have commercials popping up. And also you can stream music too. You know, I be using YouTube Premium for music also. Well, YouTube Music comes with YouTube Premium, I guess I should say. I had Spotify for essentially about as long as it's been out or been introduced, and I recently canceled that because I had a lot of music streaming services. So, you know, I was trying to save some money. I had at one point I ended up canceling Tidal too, but at one point I had Tidal, I had Spotify, I had Amazon Music and YouTube Music. And the only one I was really using was Spotify. I do miss Spotify because I had got accustomed to their interface, their podcast, the layout. YouTube music is cool. It may take me a little longer to get used to it, but I had really come to enjoy Spotify. So I do miss that. I guess one bonus with YouTube music is you can get some songs that you can't get on Spotify. Because I guess a lot of like mixtapes and records and music or songs that didn't get cleared to get on Spotify or Tidal or Apple Music, you can find on YouTube Music. So that's one thing I do like about it. Home team with BlackBerry in the building. What's going on with your BlackBerry? Appreciate you coming in, my brother. So Yeet, what's happening? Chilling, bro. I selected Kick Rocks, Bozo. I love it. Shout out to you, BlackBerry. Y'all make sure y'all check out BlackBerry also on YouTube as well. Great Falcons content creator. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure that you do subscribe and show him a bunch of love. Also, he puts out great content. Georgia, Texas boys in the house. What's up, Titan Falcons family? The New Year is here. The Atlanta Falcons will rise in 2025 and beyond. What's happening with you, Georgia, Texas boy, man? I always appreciate you. Love you coming through. Hope you having a great Monday, man. That one Falcons fan is in the building. What's up, that one Falcons fan, man? Hope you having a good day. I think Pierce might be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year. I love it, man. Also not concerned about Penix not playing. So that one Falcons fan says, hey, man, James Pierce Jr. may get him an individual trophy at the end of the year, which I definitely hope so. Maybe Rookie of the Year. That would be wonderful. I think the last Rookie of the Year we had in Atlanta, well, we had as a team, was Matt Ryan, right? In 2008. You know, so it's been a long time. It's been a long time. Also, not too concerned about Penix playing. Yeah, I'll say this: that one Falcons fan, the fan base seems extremely split as usual on that topic. You know, we'll jump into that a little more in just a moment. Georgia Texas boy says, man, this edge group is getting better and better, and we are racking up experience on defense. Yeah, that's what I love too, bro. And that, I don't have to tell y'all this, but that's been an Achilles heel, a thorn in our side, a pain in our ass for the longest time. You know, edge group, getting pressure on the quarterback, getting the quarterback on the ground, all that stuff, man. And hopefully we saw that issue, man. Hopefully that's going to solve itself in this next 6 to 12 years. You know, we can become known as a team that will sack your quarterback. Georgia Texas boys says Kirk ain't play and we went 6-3. I think the offense is about to be special. I hope so, man. I hope so. We got pretty much everybody coming back on offense. We need to get Mooney healthy. Of course, I'm not sure what the extent of his injury is. Raheem has been kind of coy about it with good reasons. You know, you don't really want to show your hand. But hopefully Mooney comes back, man, because Mooney was a big part of our offense last year. He led the team in touchdowns for a good long stretch of the season. That was the guy that, you know, as we say, take the top off the offense, off the defense. That was a deep threat for us. Ran great routes. So we really need Mooney back, man. Mooney was a big part of the offense last year. Jay Diaz in the house. What's good, Jay? Says, what's good, Toddy? Hey, man, I'm chilling, bro. It's Monday, bro. It's Monday. I'm doing good, man. I appreciate you coming through. Eric Parker in the house says, what's up, Toddy? Rise up to you, Eric. Thanks for coming in. That one Falcons fan said I posted a 2025 hype video for a Falcons. I gotta go check it out, man. I know I follow you on Twitter, so I'll go check it out on Twitter. I assume you got it on Twitter, man. So I'll definitely check it out. And y'all make sure to also check out that one Falcons fan hype video on Twitter. You can also find him on Twitter at that one Falcons fan as well. So make sure to show him some love also. Jay says, I understand both sides of it, but me personally, I'm playing starters for at least one possession. And I can respect that, Jay. You say you understand both sides. I get both sides also too. I get both sides. I see both arguments. Miss Lisa in the building. What's going on with you, Lisa? Says she is ready for week 1 against Tampa Bay. So am I. Looking forward to it. We almost there. The finish line is within our sights at this point. Jonathan says some of the fan base was ready to ship Kirk out of here after the first preseason game won. Yeah, shout out to Kirk Cousins, man. This is definitely probably going to be our last year having Kirk Cousins on the team. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into the preseason talk, since that's what some of the comments have been about. I will say this about preseason. Looks like we talk about this every show. I guess that's because it's such a compelling discussion, a compelling dialogue. I really won't call it a debate. I really just think people have their own strong opinions about it. I don't really see it as a debate. I just think people just view it differently. And as somebody else said in the comments, I can kind of see both sides. But I will say this: Jalen Walker. Excuse me, Jalen Walker did not play last game. He's still, nursing an injury. I think it's a growing injury. Don't hold me to that, but I think it's a growing injury. They also, I was on Twitter and I saw a D-Led report that Billy Bowman was taking reps with the first team, but he had on the yellow jersey. A yellow jersey signifies that, kind of signified a few different things, but they all mean the same thing. Like, yeah, this person is practicing, but don't hit him. This is that yellow jersey signifies no contact. This person is like either nursing an injury or maybe they're just coming back from an injury, something of that effect. But that means like no contact. Don't hit this player. Then of course, you got Troy Anderson. He's been out since forever. We just spoke on Darnell Mooney. He's been out since pretty much the start of camp. And I'm not trying to be negative, but I'm trying to be realistic when I say this. But we kind of we have a significant amount of guys either injured, hurt, or nursing injuries, and that play significant roles on this team. So with that said, to me that's an even stronger argument to not put your starters out there for the preseason at this point in time, because you already got a bunch of guys that have been hurt in camp or in practice. In Troy Anderson's case, I don't know when Troy got hurt. I don't know if he never fully recovered from getting injured last year. I have no idea. But, started the entire offseason process and they were hurt. So, so that kind of strengthens, I think, the perspective of people who say, I'm not sweating the starters playing in preseason. Because, again, we got some significant guys on this team that are either hurt or nursing some injuries. So, I think that strengthens that case as well. And this will be the final preseason game. And then, I guess Raheem has pretty much already told us that he wasn't going to play his starters for the very most part anyway. But Penix won't be out there. He stated today Kirk Cousins won't be out there. And I kind of figured that Kirk wouldn't play also. Kirk being, I think what, a 13-year vet. And he was still coming off that Achilles injury last year when we got him. I don't think the Falcons want to put him in harm's way neither. If another quarterback in the league goes down, I knock on wood, I'm not, wishing injury on anyone, but it does happen. And the Falcons want to make sure that he's healthy in case somebody wants to present, a trade, offer a trade scenario. So they want to keep Kirk healthy, want to keep Penix healthy, So, I mean, I do get it. I've told y'all this before. And, we did a lot of joint practices with the Tennessee Titans. And, again, this is something that I've said before, but, like, really for the starters, man, like, I see this the new preseason for starters, man. Y'all saw how intense those practices were against Tennessee. Like, intense. We out there fighting every day, bro. We out there fighting every day. They being chippy with each other, out there. They was out there getting to it. So their starters versus our starters, man, we was out there getting to it, bro. They was out there talking all kind of trash and all that stuff, bro. Their ones versus our ones, and I wish I'd have pulled up the stats, but I think Michael Penix threw. I think he threw over 30 passes every day in the joint practices versus Tennessee's starters. So that's really their preseason. You know, that's really our starters. That was their preseason. And it was physical out there. Our quarterback out there fighting. You know, everybody done covered their story, from us Falcons content creators to all the national media guys. So the physicality was there, you know, and is also talking about the AJ Terrell versus Calvin Ridley thing. Is AJ gonna get any better reps than he got going against Calvin Ridley? You know, 1-on-1s and 11 versus 11s. Is he gonna get any more better reps than that? You know, is Penix gonna get any more fire and intensity in a preseason game than he saw in them joint practices? Because them joint practices, man, they were heated, man. They were competitive. You know, both sides were out there talking and jawing and all that stuff. You know, is our offensive line gonna get any more better reps than they got against, you know, Big Jefferson Simmons, who's out there talking all that stuff? You know, were we really gonna get better reps, better practices, you know, to be able to work on our rhythm and precision than we saw against Tennessee? You know, then us going out there, putting Penix and Drake London and Bijan out there on this past Friday night. Okay, let's just run a power play, just basic blocking, you know. Okay, let's run well, I don't want to run a bootleg because I want to take the risk of Penix, you know, blindside hitting there. So, hey man, let's just do a little 5-step, you know, 5-step drop back, and let's just hit Bijan in the flats. Hey Bijan, you go ahead and get out of bounds, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, what was that kind of play design, that kind of practice, that kind of intensity? Does that make us a better team than what we had against Tennessee all last week? You know, I continue to repeat this, but I think to me that's the new preseason. That's the new preseason, man. You know, and when I keep hearing say, well, let's just put Penix out there for like a series. What is one series gonna do? Like, really? Like, let's be honest, man. Outside of satisfying a person's satisfaction of saying Penix played the preseason, what is 3 to 5 plays gonna do for Michael Penix? And he handing the ball off to a running back 75% of the time. Is that really gonna make him more prepared for Tampa Bay? I mean, really? You know, now if you say, well, let's just play Penix for an entire half, and you know, let's run more complex offensive plays, I would say, yeah, you know, yeah, that definitely would get him better prepared. But we all know, like, they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna put him out there for a half, and they definitely not finna run nothing but just vanilla plays. You know, ain't none of these guys, ain't none of these coaches that playing their guys preseason finna let you see their playbook early. You know, everybody just running vanilla plays. That's league wide. So you know, I know it's probably gonna be a never ending debate, at least until we start the real games. Now, if we start the regular season and we come out clicking on all cylinders, people won't say nothing. People won't say nothing. That'll be the end of this conversation. It'll go just like that. The Falcons come out, they looking good, they winning. Nobody gonna say a word about this. You know, there's not even gonna be the people who are pro sitting the starters in the preseason. They're not gonna even come out and say, "Hey, man, I told y'all we didn't have to play the starters in the preseason." That conversation will vanish. Now the Falcons come out slow and they start losing. Then you will hear people say, "See, I told y'all we should have played preseason." You know, so you will hear that. And we didn't play preseason last year, and we started 6-3. You know, we didn't look great against Pittsburgh, but hey, that's Pittsburgh. You know what I'm saying? That's the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, they got TJ Watt over there. You know what I'm saying? But we started 6-3. Hey, that's a. Hey, if you tell me right now, Toddy, will you take a 6-3 start for your team this year? Hell yeah, sign me up. Where do I sign up to start out 6-3? Yes, I will take starting 6-3 this year once again. To me, that's a pretty good start. You know what I mean? It's a pretty good start. And you know, once Kirk knocked the rust off, y'all got to remember, man, Kirk hadn't played football in a long time. So once Kirk knocked the rust off, man, the offense got to rolling, bro. So like, people don't talk about that part. You know, people don't talk about the fact that even though we had Kirk had a point where he was playing great football, and then you know he got injured or whatever happened there, and his play diminished, we still had a top 8 NFL offense in the entire league, not just in the national conference, but in the NFL. You know, so I don't know, man. I don't know what else like really needs to be said. I don't even think people really look at how we came out last year and how well the offense played despite Kirk getting hurt. You know, people going about preseason, they're really going about the quarterback position. Like, we just came out and we had a bad offense in 2024 when it was the total opposite. We had a great offense in 2024. You know, even when the rookie had to come in, you know, the offense was still doing their thing. So it is what it is. I just hope the team comes out and plays well to start the season, you know, just so I don't have to hear that narrative of, oh, I told you we should have played the Stars in the preseason, you know. Even though once again we started off 6-3 last year. I will take that once again this year. You know, if I could start off 6-3 again this year, hey man, I'm all for it. I'm all for it. Also, the Falcons they released DJ Chark today. Guess they pretty much signed him. You know, just took a shot on him and see what he has in him, or if he could have benefited the team in a more long-term way, which is obviously not the case. So he was released today, you know, so that's one move they announced today. And again, Jalen Walker, am I concerned about his health? Not at this point, you know, but I don't like when I look at updates and I see him dealing with the groin or dealing with a hamstring. You know, that's an aggravation for me at this point. But right now I'm not too worried or too concerned about it. I just hope he can get on the field. I just hope this doesn't become a lingering issue for him. You know, that's something that I really do hope. Because I think Jalen Walker is extremely talented, and I want to see him just like I enjoy watching James Pierce Jr. I want to see our two rookies step up and do their thing. You know, we drafted them both in the first round, so you know I'm excited to watch both of them guys play. I want to see both of them boys get out there and ball out, starting week 1 against Tampa. I don't want Jalen to be dealing with this all year. You know, so best wishes to him. And speaking of the defense, you know, I will say this about preseason. The defense does look more, what's a good word to use? The defense does seem to have more pep in their step. You know, they look like they're more talented. But again, it's just preseason. You know, this ain't ones versus ones. So we shall see. Do I think the defense will be better in 2025 than it was in 2024? Yes, I do think it will be better. I think it will be better. I've told y'all this before, and I'm going to say it again. But if we could just get this defense to be in the top 19 of the league, I think we'll be very, very, very solid. Very solid. Top 19. At this point, I'm not even asking for top 15 or top 10. And I try to be realistic. I try to be realistic. You know, when I do my analytics of the team, try to take my fanboy hat off. You know, I try not to be a fanboy who's just looking at things through Falcon shades and can't be realistic, even though this is my team that I love. You know, and when I say I try to be realistic, I am looking at the fact that, hey, man, that's a lot of young guys on the squad. And most times than not, it takes young guys a little bit of time to develop. You know, most guys don't just shoot out and start playing like Jaden Daniels year one. You know, that rarely ever happens in the league. Most times, hey, man, you got to give these guys about 2 to 4 years to progress, you know, and to develop, and, you know, into the players that they're eventually going to be in the NFL. NFL is a very tough league to succeed in. It's a very competitive league. So, you know, it can take some time. And that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at, you know, we got some young guys, man. You got Root. You know, this is Root. Just his second year. He didn't get a whole lot of playing time last year. Same thing with Brandon Doyle's, Braylon Trice. And then you got some young guys and on the back end of the defense, Billy Bowman, you know, Xavier Watts. You know, a lot of young guys out here, man. You know, so I try to look at that and put everything in its proper perspective. Now, do we got some vets on the team? Absolutely. Jesse Bates, AJ Terrell, Leonard Floyd, Morgan Fox, David Onyemata. Yeah, we do. But you still got a lot of young guys in key positions. So I try to consider that also as well. And the simple fact that we haven't consistently shown that we can keep a top defense here in Atlanta. So I try to put all that in perspective. But yeah, I do think they will be better than they were last year. I will say that I think they will be better. And I want to bring this element to it also. Again, I'm pretty sure the defense will be better this year. And I think when that happens, I think some people are going to be like, oh, man, look at that. I told y'all Jimmy Lake was just absolutely trash. He was absolutely garbage, man. Look how better our defense are now this year compared to when Jimmy Lake had them. Oh, man, I'm telling y'all. The only reason I'm saying that, and not to bodyguard Jimmy Lake. I know y'all be thinking I'll be bodyguarding all the coaches, but not to bodyguard Jimmy Lake, but I try not to scapegoat. I try not to scapegoat. And I think sometimes as fans, especially as Falcons fans, because we done dealt with so much trauma with this team that I think sometimes people scapegoat and they don't even know they're scapegoating. But you just got to find somebody to point the finger at instead of like looking at the players on the field and just saying, you know what, the players were not good enough. They were not talented enough. And when you talk about last year's defense, I think that's just a case of they were not talented enough. Now, let me say this before I get into my spiel. If I was a general manager, if I was Terry Fontenot, hypothetically speaking, if I was Terry Fontenot and I'm interviewing Jimmy Lake. No, let me take it back. Well, yeah, we'll just say Terry Fontenot to make it easy. And if I'm interviewing Jimmy Lake and Jeff Ulbrich for a defensive coordinator job, I would hire Jeff Ulbrich over Jimmy Lake. Let me go ahead and put that out there. But at the same time, Jeff Ulbrich still is going to have to get some talent behind him in order for him to succeed or be successful, man. You still need to. I don't care who you got out there as your coach, bro. If you ain't got no talented players out there, it's all for naught. You're gonna have to have some talent. And the reason I'm saying this because last year, bro, like their defense just wasn't talented, man. And again, I know it's easy to scapegoat and blame the entire world on Jimmy Lake, blame the economy on Jimmy Lake, blame your property taxes going up on Jimmy Lake, blame the price of eggs on Jimmy Lake, blame mortgage rates going up on Jimmy Lake, blame the shortage of cars on Jimmy Lake. It was just easy to blame everything on Jimmy Lake last year. But when you look at that talent last year, let's just go back to 2024. You know, no disrespect here, but you had Grady Jarrett, who's no longer on the team. Grady Jarrett is no longer here. Older Grady Jarrett. Had Eddie Goldman on the team. You had Lorenzo, and also Eddie Goldman's no longer on the team. You had Lorenzo Carter on the team, who's no longer on the team. You had Matthew Judon on the team, who's no longer on the team. These are all guys that were starting, y'all. I'm just naming starters at this point. I'm just naming you had Justin Simmons, who was starting, who's no longer on the team. D'Alford started some games. He is still on the team, but will he be starting this year at nickel? You had Nate Lamon on the team, who started about 9 or 10 games, who's no longer on the team. You had Troy Anderson started a handful of games. He's not on the active roster at the time. So, y'all, I just named about 6 starters from last year's team who's no longer on the team. Now, I don't have to tell y'all that, but if I can name 6 starters from last year's defense, 6 to 7 if I'm including Nate and Troy, but if I can name at least 6 people that started that's no longer on this team and won't be starting this year, that essentially means we have for the very most part a totally different starting defense. I think there's more talent on this defense this year than there were last year. So once we get into the talk, because I know it's going to happen, once we get into the talk of the defense being better in 2025, let's not totally just start smacking Jimmy Lake upside his forehead. You know, let's not just are you sorry, SOB? You sorry, you know, you motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? You son of a you sorry, son of a. You know, you ain't worth shit. You know, let's just before we start smacking him upside the head. Also, let's also bring to the conversation that we got different defense here. The personnel is vastly different in 25 than it was in 24. You know, it's vastly different. You actually drafted you actually drafted 2 defenders in the first round this year. You didn't do that last year. You did not do that in the 2024 draft. You know? So the talent is vastly different. So when we start talking about the improvement of the 2025 team, before we start scapegoating, because that's one thing, unfortunately, our fan base loves to do. We gotta find a scapegoat. We gotta find a scapegoat. Look at the fact that your personnel is different. Your personnel is different. You even went and got you a new linebacker. You know, now you ain't dragging Nate Lamb and Troy Anderson out there every game. You know, you went and got you went and upgraded the linebacker position. So and again, I'm not trying to say Jimmy Lake was good and he got done wrong. You know, I felt like it was a good thing to fire him, but I'm not gonna just scapegoat and make it seem like everything was his fault when that defense really wasn't talented. You know, much love to Grady Jarrett. To me, arguably a top 10 Falcon of all time, arguably. But hey, man, he had got older. You know, you could see it out there. And people are, oh man, but his Jimmy Lake scheme was trash. Blah, blah, blah. Jimmy Lake scheme probably was trash at the end of the day. But you know what? That's why I be putting that players make plays in my bio on StreamYard. Because when I was watching these guys last year in the games, when I go back and watch the tape, I'm sitting watching Matthew Judon like, bro, sometimes you just got to win one-on-one. Sometimes you just got to be better than the guy in front of you at the end of the day. You got to be better than the guy in front of you at the end of the day. You know? It's just like me and you at school, and we got a beef. We're gonna handle our business. We're gonna walk in the bathroom. The first person walk out won. Sometimes that's all it's about in football. You got to win your one-on-one matchup. And I saw far too often Matthew Judon getting his ass whooped. Much respect to Big Grady. I would see Grady get his ass whooped far too often. Now, young Grady wouldn't have been getting his ass whooped like that, but Grady had got older. He was coming off a knee injury and everything. I saw Justice Simmons got slower. He was slower. That was not the same Justice Simmons that we seen in Denver. He got slower. And Simmons and Judon, they still unsigned. Sometimes you just gotta win your match. I used to see Lorenzo Cardo get his lunch money take all the time. He used to just get his lunch money took. And I get it. Hey, the X's and O's gurus, trust me, I get it. I understand scheme matter, coaching matter. I get it too. But you know what? Sometimes you just gotta win your one-on-one matchup too. At the end of the day, sometimes you gotta whoop this guy in front of you. Sometimes you gotta walk out the bathroom first. You know, sometimes you got to walk out the bathroom first after the fight. So the first person that walk out the bathroom, that's who won. And that's who won the fight. And I seen a bunch of times where our guys were walking out the bathroom last. Like, bro, what the hell? Like, damn, Judon, you really gonna let this man just whoop your ass like that? Like, damn. Like Troy Anderson and Nate Landon, starting line inside guys. Like, come on, bro. Come on. And y'all know, like, some people be getting so upset at me when I talk about Troy Anderson. But no, I had seen that from this guy, but one great game out of 3 years, going on 4 years. And that's the starting linebacker. I seen one great game in 3 years. And that was all perpetrated off a tip pass that he caught. That I think Judon tipped it though, so shout out to Judon for that, and took it to the house. Then you had Nate Landman, that's the other starter. And you know what? I had a lot of love for Nate because he was an undrafted free agent, but I'm not foolish. I know he's not an impact linebacker, just like I look at Troy and I know he ain't an impact linebacker. But that was the meat of the defense. Then you had Big Eddie Goldman. Like, bro, like, really? So, you know, when we had that conversation, let's make sure that we bring that part up into it also. Let's just try not to just shit on Jimmy Lake because we need a scapegoat. And I see that a lot in our fan base. We just need a scapegoat, you know. But that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? I do think the defense will be vastly improved this year. Georgia Texas boy says, but if we're being honest, Walken Williams dealing with injuries while at UGA. You're right about that. But played through the injuries. You're absolutely right about that. Middle Georgia checking in. Shout out to the whole 478 in the house. We in this thing. Shout out to the 478. Hucklebuck 71. What's up, Hucklebuck? The defense scheme on the late did not complement the skill set of the personnel. Been asked to carry out the scheme, period. And Hucklebuck, I just went on my rant about that, bro. Like, I will admit, and I just did admit, that Lake's scheme probably was trash. He probably won a good defensive coordinator. But players make plays, Hucklebuck. Hucklebuck, that's why I keep this. That's why I keep that on my bio, right there by my name. Players make plays. Bro, a real dog gonna bite, regardless. A real dog gonna bite. No matter the element, no matter the situation, a real dog gonna bite, bro. You know, again, I get when people talk about this scheme stuff. This, to me, after so long, that just becomes scapegoat. Like, bro, if you're gonna go out here and you're gonna win this one-on-one matchup or you ain't. I sat there and watched it far too many times where our guys could not win their one-on-one matchup. I sat there far too much, Hucklebuck, and watch offensive coordinators purposely attack Troy Anderson. We're going to run right at this dude because we don't respect him. We don't respect y'all. We're going to run right here at Nate Landman. We don't respect this undrafted free agent. He's slow. We don't think he can do it all game. So we're going to sit here and run right at him. I saw far too often teams just attack certain players, certain instances of our defense, man, because these guys can win. I sat here and watched the third string tackle just beat Matthew Judon up one week. Just beat him up. Like, boo, I'm just gonna Debo you, dog. I'm just gonna Debo you. Yeah. You ain't finna get off that block. I'm just gonna Debo you. You know what I'm saying? Nah, you ain't finna walk out the bathroom for. I'm gonna Debo you. Players make plays, man. And don't get me wrong, I know coaching important, I know scheme important, but you know what? Talent is more important than that. Talent is more important than the scheme and the coaches. The talent that sits at the top of the pedestal, in my opinion, in my humble opinion. Coach says I think the OC was more of an issue than the DC. I was cool with Zach Robinson. I was cool with Zach Robinson. I didn't have no problem with Zach. You know, hopefully he can get better and improve. You know, you hope every year, every player and every coach improve. But ultimately, I was pretty cool with that. That dog in the house. Shout out to the whole 912 in the building. Shout out to Vidalia, Georgia, the home of the Onions. You know what I'm saying? The home of the Vidalia Onions. So shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate you coming in, Raymond Collins. JCD, Strangers 087. Damn, no snaps and priests. Nope. Not this year, bro. It ain't happening this year, dog. Not this year. ATL Sharon 39 says, yep, shout out to you, ATL. Says they are older and now, yeah, bro. And you could see it, dog. You could really, really see it. They had got older and slower. And that's what happens, man. You know, that's what happens. You know, age and as they say, Father Time is undefeated, and you definitely could see it last year. ATL, so we need to start bringing in these old used to be good players that used to be prime. They used to be good on their old teams, and that's why I'm glad to see that we did invest 2 first rounders on the defense, bro. You know, I'm glad that we did do that. I'm glad to see that the Falcons look like they're starting to take the defensive side of the ball serious. So I was very glad to see that. Cole says, you speaking fast to an extent. Talent was a problem, but so was coaching. This year we will see which is worse. Yeah, and coach, that's all I'm saying, bro. That's really all I'm saying. You know, if people want to shit on Jimmy Lake, I'm cool with it, but talk about the talent too. Just don't blame everything on the coach. That's my only thing, coach, is when people have a conversation, it's always just Jimmy Lake. But y'all ain't talking about the players. Like these dudes, like they was getting their ass whooped. You know what I'm saying? They were getting their ass whooped. You know, and that's my only thing. You know, like I say, I don't be trying to bodyguard, but I'm not a fan of scapegoating. To me, that's synonymous with excuse making when you scapegoat. If you're gonna tell the story, tell the whole story. You know, it's just like, and I won't stay on the topic long, I promise y'all. But just like going back to the Super Bowl, you know, when people say, "Oh man, the defense lost to the Super Bowl," what? The same defense that put 6 points on the board, the same defense that gave you like 4 or 5 sacks. That defense lost the Super Bowl, or did the team as a whole lose the Super Bowl? Don't just say the defense lost the Super Bowl. Say the team lost it. We choked as a team. That was a total team choke job. I just hate scapegoat. I dislike scapegoating a lot. I dislike scapegoat. You know, it's still on that Super Bowl. Oh man, if it went for Devontae Freeman, we'd be Super Bowl champions. Yes, Devontae missed the block, but he didn't fumble the football. Yeah, scapegoating. Yeah, I will give you that. Devontae, I don't know what he was doing, whether he was pouting or soaking or his mouth. I don't know what happened now. Maybe he'll tell the story one day. He did miss the block. I do hold him responsible for that, but he didn't fumble the football. I dislike scapegoating. Like I say, to me, that's like excuse making to me. CJ Hill says defense was too slow last year. Yes, that's why I'm glad we got some young dogs, bro. We went and got some young dogs this year, man. We essentially used the whole draft for defense, you know. So we got some young lads in here. No disrespect to the vets, but there was a lot of old legs out there with a lot of tread on them tires, man. A lot of tread. Hey, but that's not it. That's about it for me today, y'all. We're hitting the hour. I want to thank everybody who came in today. Shout out to everybody who joined the live on YouTube, and I definitely appreciate y'all a great deal. Shout out to the replay gang who will watch the video on the replay. Salute y'all. Also, shout out to everybody that is watching this stream on Twitter. Got a pretty good number on Twitter, so thank y'all. This is the second stream for us on Twitter. But we will be back. Before you miss us, I'm gone.